But this is what they want. This is what
They don't want it. They want political to show that they're creating distance between Israel. You know why? Because there's an election coming up. They need the far left and maybe Michigan Arab.
Michigan and Michigan.
So they're huh?
That's the whole case.
That's it.
Election.
Election.
It's always about votes. האם הנשים חייבות לבוא לבית הכנסת בשבת זכור כדי לשמוע קריאת פרשת זכור מהשליח ציבור הקורא בתורה? Do women have to come this coming Shabbat to shul because it's perashat zachor? So are the women required to show up? הנה דעת רבותינו הראשונים שקריאת פרשת זכור היא מצוות עשה מן התורה. The rabbis tell us that zachor is a mitzvah from the Torah. As it says, zachor et asher asa lecha Amalek. You have to remember. And how do we remember? By reading the story. Okay, I'm going to skip some sources here. Yechave b'shut Terumat HaDeshen. The Terumat HaDeshen writes, Shelachen b'nei hayeshuvim she'en lahem inyan. People that live in villages that don't have 10 men, tzrichim labo b'shabbat zachor lekehilot hasemuchot lahem kedei l'shmoa kriyat parashat zachor she mitzvot aseh min haTorah. If you are in a place where there's no minyan, you got to go somewhere for Shabbat. You have to hear parashat zachor. Ve'adita mitzvat mikra Megillah. And it's more important than Megillah on Purim, because Megillah is midrabanan, and zachor is from the Torah. V'chei pasak maran b'Shulchan Aruch, and that's the halacha l'maaseh, siman 685 in Shulchan Aruch. V'zeu mishum shechoban l'shmo kriyat parashat zachor mipi hashliach tzibur hakoreh b'Torah. You have to hear, you must hear zachor. It's definitely, according to everyone, the only reading of the year that's from the Torah is zachor. Maybe other people hold paras also, but across the board, basically, everyone will say zachor. This coming Shabbat is from the Torah. Okay, I'm going to skip a little bit in the attempt to save some time. Omnam, so the question for women is, women don't have to fulfill mitzvot aseh shehazman gerama. Women don't have to do time-bound mitzvot. So is zachor time-bound? That's the question. Omnam. The Torah doesn't tell us when we have to read zachor. When we do remember Amalek? It just says remember. The rabbis decided the when, right before Purim. Yeshaya Berlin בספר מיני תרגימה הביא סמך לזה שצריכים לזכור פרשת עמלק לפחות פעם אחת בשנה. They say you should at least remember it once a year, which is what we do. We actually read perashat ki tetzeh also, because that's really where this piece comes from, perashat ki tetzeh. So we read it twice a year, but we don't make everyone come to ki tetzeh to read it. We make everyone come to zachor once a year. Why once a year? Because we have a tradition that human minds remember things for 12 months and forget things after 12 months. This is very tied to Kaddish. Right, exactly. 48 hours, like you said. Kaddish is also 1 year. After 1 year, we assume you forgot. And so you don't have to take Kaddish anymore. So the human memory, Hashem created the mind. You hold on to things for 12 months. So therefore, if Hashem says, Lo tishkach, don't forget Amalek, how often do I have to read it to never forget it? Once a year. Because you won't forget it, because you read it 364 days ago. By the way, there's a Hatam Sofer on this. I think I said it once. The Hatam Sofer says, what about on a leap year? What about a leap year? This year is a leap year, so this is month 13, which means we should have forgotten Amalek a month ago. The Hatam Sofer's question.
We read it as part of the perashat.
Yeah, so you read it in Kitetzeh. So Hatam Sofer, this is the answer. His answer is, in a leap year, make sure you come to shul the Kitetzeh before the leap year, so you get it that twice. Okay. Ma? Bishlach is Vayavo Amalek. That's not the Zechira of the Perashat. It's Vayavo Amalek. That's the Kriya of Purim. The maftir of Bishalach is the reading for Purim. Vayavo Amalek Vayelachem im Yisrael b'fidim imachom hey zechar Amalek mitachat hashemayim. No, that's Kiyad HaKesya. That's Bishalach. The Perashat for Zachor is from Kitetzeh. It's also the maftir. Zachor et asher asa lecha Amalek asher kalecha ba'derech. So that's an interesting Hatam Sofer. So this past Kitetzeh, we try to keep it in our mind so we don't go 12 months. So therefore, we're putting a time to it. It's once every 12 months. Now it's a time-bound mitzvah, maybe. So the women should not have to hear it. If it's not time-bound, the women would have to hear it. If we put a time to it, the women don't have to hear it. Okay?
Why are women not bound by time?
Because they have the ha'osek b'mitzvah patur min ha'mitzvah. They have a bigger job. They're trying to raise the children. And so if you have like someone who's someone whose parent passed away, they don't do any mitzvot until the burial, right? Why? Because they're busy in a mitzvah. They have a bigger mitzvah they're busy with, burying the body. And so women are busy with another mitzvah of raising the children. And so you tell the woman, by the way, I want you to do another thing. How am I supposed to do it? You can't tell me exactly when I have to do something. What if I have a diaper to change at that time?
But the children grow.
Doesn't matter. You have the grandchildren. Or sometimes the husband's a child. But if you tell, a lot of times, yeah? The women agree. Never ends, yeah? It's true. But if you give them a mitzvah and you say, there's no time bound on this, do it whenever you can. Fine, I'll do whenever I can fit it into my busy schedule, that they have to do. But if it's time bound, you can't tell me when I have to do something. I have them busy with something else. So patu. Okay? Okay? And so therefore, since we say that a heart remembers things for 12 months and forgets things after 12 months, that would be once every 12 months we have to reach zachor, that would be time bound. Because it says, Lo tishkach, you cannot forget Amalek. You have to remember him once a year. Okay, I'm skipping a lot actually. Hold on. However, the Torah doesn't say when you have to read zachor. It doesn't say read it once a year. It just says don't forget. The rabbis are the ones who came and said read it once a year before Purim. The Torah didn't put a time on this mitzvah of remembering Amalek. So therefore, according to the Torah, women should have to come here Amalek, here zachor, because the Torah never put a time on it. But you can ask on that, okay, but the women should be able to decide which week they want to hear it. If a woman can say in 3 weeks from now, I want to hear zachor, because again, by the same logic, the Torah didn't put a time on it. Okay? And therefore, the rabbi from Minkach, Rabbi Chaim Elazar Shapira, says zachor is not considered time-bound, and therefore women have to hear the perashat. Ulam, Rabbeinu Aaron HaLevi b'Sefer HaChinuch, the Chinuch writes, She'anashim piturot mitzvat kriyat perashat zachor. Women do not have to hear zachor. Why? You know the reason? Think of Sahal from a Haredi perspective. You know the reason? Think of Sahal from a Haredi perspective. Why do we remember him? To do what to him? To kill him. Who kills? Who fights in war? Not these days, man. So it says the Chinuch writes, Hanashim piturot b'mitzvat kriyat zachor. Why? Ikar ta'am l'zechirazu. The whole point of remembering Amalek kedei l'zarezenu le'ilachem ba'amalek le'ashmido u'lemachotod b'ta'at shemei Hashem, so that we remember to wipe him out. And therefore, v'hoyel mehanashim enan banot milchama. Not anymore. If the women don't fight in the wars, what do they have to remember him for? Darcho shel ish lichbosh ve'en darka shel isha lichbosh. And it says in Megillah Kiddushin, darcho shel ish la'asot milchama. A man is the one who fights wars. Ve'en darka shel isha la'asot milchama. It's not the normal manner of a woman to fight a war. And therefore, they shouldn't have to hear it, even if it is not time bound. They're not associated with wiping out Amalek, and so therefore they're out of the picture. And this is the same logic used by the Gemara to allow Ruth and the daughters of Moab to marry us, because it was the men, it was the people who came out of Milchama, war, who were mean to us in the desert, didn't give us food and drink. But what were the women supposed to do? They're home, not in the battle, so the women are kosher. That's why Ruth was allowed to marry.
That's needing to remember Amalek, not blaming. So we can fight them. I mean, that's
So that's the pshat. I mean, that's what it says in the pasuk. But then there's that's the pshat. I mean, you can't take away the pshat, because the pasuk says When Hashem gives you rest from all your enemies, you have to erase him. So that's the pshat. But there's obviously lots of like esoteric meanings behind it. The Amalek within us. Nowadays we don't even know who Amalek is anymore. I saw that the Brisker Rav actually holds that Amalek, I believe. Amalek, you're allowed, it's a mahloket whether you're allowed to convert them, whether they can be converts or not, or you just have to wipe them out. And I think the Brisker Rav holds you're allowed to. Soloveitchik calls you're allowed to convert them. So it's not very clear. These days it's obviously an inward thing. We all have the Amalek inside of us. Okay. The Agaon Rabbi Yehuda Najjar in the Sefer Limudei Hashem, he writes the same thing as the Chinuch, that women do not have to hear Amalek because they don't have to fight Amalek. And then he writes, oh, I found the same thing in the Chinuch, and he was very happy. Gam Hagaon Rabbi Yehuda Ayash in the Sefer Matei Yehuda writes, Shenashim Peturot Meshimiat Perashat Zachor. Women do not have to hear the Perashat Zachor. And we learned this, Mimashi Utzlicha Torah Lechayev Hanashim B'Shmiat Perashat Hakel. It says by Hakel that women have to hear the Perashah, and so therefore the Torah went out of its way to say, bring the women for Hakel and the children for Hakel. It doesn't say this for Zachor. So therefore, the women should be patur from Zachor. The Gaon Meluvlin writes, Sheme'ikar Adin in Hanashim Hayavot B'Shmiat Perashat Zachor. He agrees with the Chinuch that women do not have to hear Zachor from the letter of the law. And he says, I never heard of any community, he says, he's in Lublin, that requires all the women to come to shul for Zachor. Torah, and that's the custom of the Jews, to let the women stay home if they want to. That's our Torah. There was a rumor that one great rabbi, who was Rab Nassan Adler, and Rab Nassan Adler is notable. He was the Rebbe of the Hatam Sofer, and he was like a convert to Sephardi. He converted and he switched over. He prayed Sephardi, Rab Nassan Adler. What he held, Rab Nassan Adler also held that, it's maybe not a popular opinion in this room, but Rab Nassan Adler held that a Sephardi has to hear Torah in the Sephardi pronunciation, and an Ashkenazi is allowed to also hear in the Sephardi pronunciation. Rab Nassan Adler, who was Ashkenaz, but he held not the reverse. If a Sephardi hears it in Ashkenaz, it's no good. He held the Sephardi way was the right way. It's the Rebbe of the Hatam Sofer. Zachor, because it's the only chiyuv. So Rab Nassan Adler, he made them come. Daat, he's the only one who did this. We're not going to use him. This is what the Rebbe from Lublin writes. So in summary, what we learn from here is most of the Aharonim hold women do not have to come to shul to hear Zachor. Why? Two reasons. Number one, it might be a misvat aseh she'azman gerama. It might be time bound because it's once a year. That's a question because the rabbis put the time on it, not the Torah. If it's time bound, they don't have to come. And number two, they don't have to fight wars. So there's two reasons for this.
I think there's another reason.
Very good. That's very true. The women hold the grudge. Ulam. Ulam, mikom akom. Nachon v'ra'ui shenashim hayochelot labor la'ezat nashim shebet knesset v'shabbat zachor l'shmon kriyat parashat zachor yishtadilu la'asok ken. If the women are able to come, they should definitely try to participate and come. Kedei laset yodei chobat kol ha'poskim, to hold like Rab Nassan Adler, to hold they have to come. U'mei Hashem yis'u beracha. Either way, they should be blessed from Hashem. So this coming Shabbat, we're going to read Parashat Zachor. The women are invited and welcomed. Women do not have to feel guilty if they can't show up. Like Yossi says, they never forget anyway. And we'll go on to the next Yud.